Hello and welcome to a special episode of Over Underrated with guest Mr.B, the gentleman rhymer, aka Jim Burke. We were delighted to have Jim on to talk about, amongst other things, his latest album Be Curious, what it was like to support Sparks on tour, and we asked him for 5 underrated songs by underrated bands that we could get into. Jim will be up at the Edinburgh Fringe with his show Be Curious, playing songs from his latest album and who knows what others. You'll have to listen to the episode to find out. So check it out if you're in Edinburgh from the 5th to the 9th of August. Go and see him. See you on the other side.
Welcome to the Over Underrated podcast with Fran and Babs. Is it over or underrated?
Welcome to the latest Over Underrated episode with Babs and Fran. I am Babs, and I'm here with my co-host Fran. How are you doing today?
I am doing fine. It's a beautiful Monday down in Dorset. I went to my first festival-ish on the weekend, and it's ruined my neck. But apart from that, I'm down to. I saw 3 bands, and even standing in a field for 3 hours can destroy me. Apparently, it's quite sad. I'd love to be able to say that I was watching like Metallica or something, but it was the Hoosiers.
I was going to say, what are the 3 bands, and can you, in reverse order, tell us which ruined your neck the most?
We are scientists, but I was at the fence so I could lean, which is a useful tip for people with bad backs. No mosh pit. I don't think the pool people we knew any songs by We Are Scientists. Hoosiers, because they did a cover of Pony Club,
Oh,
which got a bit raucous.
Pony Club, yeah.
Yep. And then I saw Feeder. Again, I was leaning on the fence. So I think it was the Hoosiers
The Hoosiers what done it.
who destroyed me, which I'm sure they've heard many times.
Well, as I was telling you before the record, heavy lungs might have done my knee in, so clearly we are victims of the music, unfortunately. The last concert I went to was Amyl and the Sniffers, who were fantastic, just after Glastonbury. But I already had a bit of a dodgy knee, so I was kind of jumping on one leg while trying to do my best to rock out, but I would recommend. But have you been listening then back to the music from that area, or what else have you been listening to recently?
So apart from listening to a Scientist's new album, I have been listening to the new Lord album. New Hot Chip singles pretty decent. New Nine Inch Nails, I believe they're doing the soundtrack to Tron, which is nice. And the new FKA Twigs single, Perfectly. How about
What's
you?
the new Lord album? Because I saw bits of her Glastonbury and thought, oh, this
Yeah,
is
I'm
interesting.
not the biggest, but she always has at least 3 great tracks, and so Shapeshifter's one I like at the moment. This is on my best of 2025 so far list.
Yes, we will get to
To be
that
continued.
later this year. Yeah, from my side, I've been listening to the new Tommy Genesis album, the rapper that I quite like, which is quite a different direction because she normally has very, let's say, electronic rap, but this is kind of rapping over an acoustic guitar, which is quite interesting. But
Okay.
I was expecting much more kind of dirty synth, so I've listened through it once and I'm like, okay, I need to listen to it again with kind of different expectations. I've been listening to Wet Leg's new album, to Leonie
hmm
Cavnier's new album, who's been on one of our best ofs. I've been getting into Bob Vylan again. I wonder why. They've been in the news. But I was listening. I already knew about them, but I was listening to their whole discography, and I was like, yeah, this is really good stuff. So yeah. But we're not alone today. We have a very special guest. We are joined by Mr.B, the gentleman rhymer, aka Jim Burke. Hello, Jim. How are you?
Hello. Very well, very well. Yourselves?
Very good, thank you. What have you been
Jolly
listening
good.
to, and which part of your body has it hurt, if any?
Well, which part of my body has it hurt? Well, that's what. Yeah, well, I'll leave the parts of the body that hurt thing for later because that's probably another podcast entirely, isn't it? But I've been listening to a bit of. Well, I went to an exhibition last week of art and music by Mark Stewart, who used to be in the pop group and then did Mark Stewart and the Mafia on U Sound in the sort of 80s. It was completely. I remember the first thing I'd heard of things was a thing called Anger is Holy, and it was this sort of mad kind of breakbeat thing, but it's incredibly distorted. And, he sort of sings, but he can't really sing at all. He just kind of shouts into a megaphone a bit. And so, yeah, that was really good. And it was George Clinton's birthday, 84th birthday
Wow.
last week as well. So I've been listening to a bit of Parliament. So I've kind of been, enjoying doing that. But on the vaguely newer things, I was listening to the Wave Generators album, which is a chap called Nasaj from old early 90s hip hop band called New Kingdom, sort of psychedelic hip hop band. And he's got a new thing with a chap called Hype Keach. And it's sort of weird, discordant rock. You'd sort of call it rock rap, but not in the kind of Limp Bizkit-y way. It's sort of, just very weird left field hip hop. And so that's been good.
That's I haven't. I mean, I've heard of the pop group, but apart from that, I haven't heard of anyone. Oh, and George Clinton.
Yes.
But the other people you mentioned, I haven't heard of them. So yeah, some recommendations there. So to kind of quickly introduce you, Jim. Is it okay if I call you Jim, or do you insist on?
Let's go for the Clark Kent name. Why not? I often usually go Mr.B, but let's we're delving into past.
We can do both. We can do both. So, well, you've been performing as Mr.B, the Gentleman Rhymer, since 2007, and I have to say you are our first guest that has invented a whole genre, chap hop. So, going on what the internet says, a fusion genre of music mixing the hip hop genre with elements from stereotypical English obsessions. And your main instrument is the banjolele, which
the banjolele.
I'd love to get into in a second. But yes, we have we met in real life because, well, Jim is a stalwart of the English music scene. I know Jim because he played at my sort of cousin's wedding in Norway. which is
cousin's wedding in Norway.
I was explaining to Fran before the recording. She's my godfather's stepdaughter, so I'm just going to say my cousin Sada, also known as Hello the Mushroom. Follow her on Instagram. Her art is very good.
Yes.
So I had the pleasure of seeing Jim perform to a small group of people, and then I had the
that was a lovely do.
It was such a nice wedding.
Of fun.
And then I think I can safely say I'm probably the only person at that wedding who then saw Jim supporting Sparks in Brussels the following year. So yeah, would love to get into that as well.
Absolutely.
But I think the first thing that I want to start off by asking you about is, firstly, your latest album, Be Curious, and your latest 1 hour show at the Edinburgh Fringe, which is coming up next week. So, how this is your 12th studio album?
I think it's my 14th.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wikipedia did me dirty there.
Oh, yes. I think they'd missed a couple. There was a couple of the chap step ones, which I foolishly put down as being Mr.B the Gentleman Selector, which basically means that nobody can find them on Spotify.
Oh, that makes sense. I was like,
or is it one of those where it's like it's categorized as a compilation for some reason, and then you just never find it?
Yes, Wikipedia did that. I mean, I have no idea who updated. I mean, I occasionally look at the Wikipedia page and just to think, have they updated it? Whoever the mystery people or person is that's updated it, and they've got the new album on there anyway, so
that's good.
Yes, it happens
with your latest album. So is the Edinburgh Fringe show related to it then? Are you doing like a set of your music, or is it more than that? Could you tell us a bit more about what your Edinburgh Fringe show looks like? Because it's not the first time you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe.
No, gosh, no. I've been doing the Fringe since about 2009. That was my first Fringe as Mr. B, and so I think I've missed a couple of years here and there, and also I generally speaking now go for a few days at a time. I haven't done the full run for a long time. Because I think after a while you just think it's bonkers, because you're doing your show every day for 3 weeks to 4 weeks, whatever it is, and then also you're running around doing spots at other people's shows and cabaret spots and bits and bobs here and there. So you end up doing sort of 3 or 4 shows a day, and yes, it's quite a lot. Yeah. But yes, the show itself though is it's called Be Curious, and as in the letter B - curious. And I'll be playing lots of stuff from the new album, which seems to be, I think the last couple of albums I've done, this one and National Treasure before that, I think, and probably partly due to playing with Sparks as well, and the fact that they play so much new stuff, that I'd often, after a few albums, I'd make a new album and just put 1 or 2 in there. I was quite cautious about new songs. And as time's gone on, and the fact that, you can't just play all the old songs forever, I've, ended up doing a lot more, new stuff. So most of the new show is going to be from the new, at least this album and the previous one, just updating as you go along.
What sort of venues do you play in Edinburgh usually?
Well, I'm playing at the Voodoo Rooms, which is, I think it's kind of rare, but I think it's one of the only venues that does free Fringe and paid Fringe. I'm afraid I'm on paid Fringe, but it basically costs the same, because the free Fringe is free to get in, but it's not free to get out. You basically have to pay to leave. So yes, I'm doing the Voodoo Rooms, which is a beautiful venue. It's a really beautiful bar, all kind of gold and black and white and opulent, and it's perfect for a bit of Mr.B.
Do you have a loyal following up in Edinburgh?
Well, we're about to find out.
Hopefully, we'll help.
Yes. It's generally speaking. Well, the last time I played I don't think I played last year, but I played the year before that, and I cocked it up slightly because we didn't register the whole thing in time to get it in the brochure, so I was sort of like fringe of the fringe of the fringe. So I didn't get so many along then, but hopefully I should get. Yeah, it should be fine. It's generally speaking, I'll get a load of people along.
Do you fly? Do you fly your shows yourself, or?
I think I probably will do this year. I try not to. I try to avoid flying as much as possible because I just found it just ruined the whole experience. I was almost like, I'd rather have not that many people than have to go and stand outside it, generally in the rain. It's usually in the rain, and kind of do the same thing that thousands of other people are doing, and just try to shove a small piece of paper in people's hands that don't really want it. But we'll see. Maybe I'll busk a little bit or something like that.
I was going to say, I think given your look and your instrument, I think that, I mean, I can understand that it is a bit frustrating. That is the thing of the fringe. You want people to come and see your show, but when you're having to, I don't know in your case, but sometimes single-handedly be the person getting the people in, it can be a bit demoralizing, right?
Yes, exactly. It can be a lot. And I found that with shows generally, at the moment, it's a tricky old game at the moment. There was a going out bump after COVID, which I think dissipated fairly quickly because people went, hey, we can go out. And then went, we've kind of quite got used to staying in now. We quite like that. And then it's, everyone thinking, do I want to pay £7 for a pint? And then, the triple threat being, the algorithm, meaning that previously, 10 years ago, if I had this show and I posted about it on Instagram or wherever it may be, people would see it. Whereas now they don't, even the people that are following you don't generally see what you're doing. So it's just that much more difficult.
It's very frustrating. I can tell you that as the person managing our Instagram account, we have something like 790 followers. The other day I put up a story, 3 people saw it. I was like, what is the point? Because the fact that before, if you put a hashtag on a post, then the people would be following that hashtag and you could find it. But in that respect, it definitely feels much more difficult. And I'm glad that we started podcasting in 2020, because I think if you were trying to get a podcast off the ground now, it would be much more difficult.
No, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I found that with it's and like things with YouTube as well. Whereas previously, I've got something like 36,000 people subscribe on YouTube, and I'll put a video up and it'll get 3,000 views. And you think, well, surely if people are subscribing, that means they should see things, but no.
Are you on Patreon or anything? Do you try another?
I do. Yeah. The Guild of Chat Pop. Yes, Mr. B's Guild of Chat Pop is on Patreon. Patreon.com/Mr.B the Gentleman Rhymer. And that's, again, I think I started that at the start of the pandemic, and it's been steady, but it's people. The funny thing I find with that is that you want to give people a bit more with Patreon, but I find that all Patreon does for me, if I put a post up, it reminds people that they're giving me money, and I end up putting a post up and I go, so and so and so and so and so and so. You're just reminding people they're giving you money, whereas I should just keep it quiet and go, but if I keep quiet, they won't. So anyway, I don't want to be too creme brulee about the whole thing. It's I'm very lucky to be doing this as a job, as it were. So it's it's very pleasant.
Have you noticed any venues that you were playing, years ago, and now starting to vanish? Like I'm based in Dorset, and I'm having to travel further away to see, like, if it's a venue that holds under 500 people, it's just the vanishing. Like the O2 arenas are basically the only place I can go see bands these days. So apart from festivals, I'm having to like drive to Bristol or to Brighton just to see any sort of like mid sort of level sort of acts. It's like, that seems to be a struggle, and I know it's like up north, especially, really famous venues are closing down. So I was wondering, is a similar thing in your musical life?
Absolutely, yes. There's there's something like 100 venues closing down a year at the moment, isn't there? Something like that. It is the smaller venues. You speak to some of the people, the promoters and what have you, and we all complain about tribute acts and things like that, but then the smaller venues are saying, but if it wasn't for tribute acts, we'd be done. You know, so it's often, you know, the people who do original stuff play during the week. The tribute acts play play Friday and Saturday, and just get the money in.
Wow.
And I don't know. Well, I don't know.
Is
This
that
is
popular? I had no idea.
The Cold Place, they filled the tent in Poole Harbour. They had a bigger crowd than we're scientists.
Wow.
So
Really?
yeah.
This is it. Well, I did a festival in Blythe in Northumberland a few weeks ago, which is a lot of fun, but it just was almost entirely tribute acts, the entire festival, and me. I suppose I play a few kind of interpretations of other people's music and things like that. So I guess that gives me a little in there. But it's I didn't get too many people in my tent. I usually do well there, but then I was on the same time as Queen. So there you go.
It's hard to compete with Queen.
What are you going to do?
Did you get to play abroad often at all?
Not so well, certainly not so much post Brexit. But I have, I played in the States a few, but not for a few years. But I played, I've done New York and Philadelphia and Minneapolis and San Francisco in the States. I played in Japan, which was lovely, and I'd love to go back there. That would be very nice. And so, and around Europe, I need to do a show in Brussels. Then that's what I need to do.
Absolutely, you need to come to Brussels.
Yes. Yeah, it sounds good. That sounds like it's all happening there. So
I think the answer is probably a lot of government support or local support. I think about I went to a gig this year. It was a free gig in just a cafe in the center of town, and there was a band from the Netherlands and a singer from the US. Like the Dutch band, like very rock and roll. The American lady, icy synths, and it was great. And we were just on a Thursday in the most central of the city center in cafe. It's literally called Cafe Central. Watching live music, and it is extremely rare for me to pay more than €40, even for bigger band. If a bigger band came, like the Coldplays of this world or something like that, I'm sure it would be up into maybe the 80s or 100s. But Fran and I were talking about the podcast about someone I know who's paying £350 to go and see Oasis, and that just blows my mind.
It's crazy. I know. My wife's been complaining on Imagine Dragons Instagram because our nephew's really into Imagine Dragons. And just complaining to them that why your ticket's £250. I want to bring my nephew. I'm not paying £500 to go and see. It is a bit crazy. I mean, my gigs are still sort of between £12 and £15 or something like that.
Well,
actually, I don't know how much one in Edinburgh is.
It's £12, I think. I saw. Yeah,
£12. There you go. Lovely. That's not bad. So that's the thing. There's so much great music out there that is cheap and interesting. You're always going to see something. If you're remotely interested in music, you should just go to small venues and see small bands. You're very rarely going to be, at least, not going to come away with having seen something you've not seen before or something that's at least grabs your fancy a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing.
But yeah, I mean, Fran and I are often saying this, but I do think, I think people are maybe going to see live music less these days. And when they are, I think they want to save their money for the bigger artists like the Adeles and the Oasis and whatever, because and it's reminding me that on possibly Blue Sky, I saw a debate recently of, apparently there was a Kylie Minogue concert in the UK, and the person was saying that the people around them only knew Padam Padam, and they were like, oh, we don't know any of these.
Oh, really?
And you're like, why would you? But it's like, well,
That's
she
TikTok.
is a big pop star.
Yeah.
I guess let's go and see her. I don't know how much it was, but I would guess it probably would be less than £100, right?
No, certainly not. No.
But it's like, maybe because it's like like the TikToks, the youths and the TikToks. But yeah, that absolutely blows my mind, and I think it's a shame that people aren't seeing music so casually anymore. And again, actually, this is what Belgium is good at. In Belgium, there's a lot of very, very cheap or even free festivals where it will be in regional, not just in the Brussels and the Antwerps. And I think that introduces people automatically to a lot of new acts. But if it's not very cheap or free, I think it's very difficult to kind of get people motivated. Well, in the UK, I did go to Wide Awake Festival this year in May, and that was, I think, £60 for the whole day, which I thought was, and that was where Kneecap were playing, where almost they did play. So it ended up being this whole blown up out of proportion. But I was like, okay, so stuff like this still does exist in the UK, in London maybe, but I wonder in how many other places it does.
Well, I mean, I live down in Brighton, and there is still a pretty decent live music scene down here. There's still There are very few venues closing. It's, you know, I'm saying that they could be closing as we speak, but there's still a lot of good venues you can, you know, see. You know, I played in a couple of places down here that are just, you know, 150 capacity, something like that, just small venues. And generally speaking, it's still relatively healthy, I think. But it's one of those things that Brighton's that kind of place that people who are that way inclined go to, you know, gravitate towards. And funnily enough, I literally play here probably once or twice a year, which is slightly foolish. I keep thinking I should just do like a monthly thing.
Yeah,
something like that.
The Mr.B residency, I'm sure.
Yeah, I should try and work that out, actually. I think I might try and do it as like a trying out new stuff, that sort of thing, you know, marking around, do something a little bit more regular. But then you kind of think, well, if I do something regularly, then no one's going to turn up at all.
I think you'd be surprised.
Over underrated.
People who might not know you, I just wanted to give a bit more background exactly to what Chap Hop is, as well as in the introduction. And I think your Chap Hop history video is obviously a great place to start because you do a medley of covers there: Sugar Gang, Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, and Eminem. And I was also looking again at the just like a chap video, and I really enjoyed your term of chum raids. That's sticking with me in the vocabulary. But yeah, not to go too much into how did everything start, but maybe, you know, what inspired you to, I guess, start a new genre with the banjo lady? You know, why did that become your chosen instrument? How did that come together with your clothing as well, which is very particular? What was the genesis of Mr.B?
Well, it was a culmination of everything I'd done previously, because I was in a band in the 90s, a kind of hip hop crossover band. And I've had numerous lives, you see. I've managed to get away with this. I've started writing a memoir called Reasons to be Unsuccessful, Part 2, about all these sort of not exactly successful things I've done that nearly got there, but not quite. So yes, I did a sort of kind of big beat sort of dance music production thing in the turn of the century. And then I also had this sort of dandy punk band called the Schooner Boys, which a friend of mine, it's basically a friend of mine. It was his idea really, but it was sort of this punk band that sung about quaffing sherry and things like that. It was sort of Clockwork Orange meets The Prisoner meets Jason King meets Jeeves and Wooster.
What a mashup.
So, and in the end, I thought I'd sort of bring the whole thing together and see what happened. But it just, funnily enough, it just came to me, funnily enough, in the pub. And I seem to remember just sitting there going, right, I'm going to do a thing. It's going to be called Mr.B the Gentleman Driver. It's going to be called Chap Hop. I was originally planning on doing the whole thing from a Chesterfield armchair. And then I realized the logistics of carrying a Chesterfield armchair around with you at all the gigs on trains was not ideal. So I ditched the Chesterfield armchair, but kept the rest of it. It's always one of those things that sounds like it shouldn't work at all, but somehow did.
And nearly 20 years. Yeah,
it's been 18 years now. Yes. It's ridiculous.
Would you do a big gig in 2 years' time to celebrate?
Well, I don't know. This is one of the things maybe I would, perhaps. But at the same time, I don't, I'm kind of conscious in a little bit of Sparks way of like looking back too much.
Okay.
Maybe, I'd like to maybe just keep moving forward, however slowly it may be. But yeah, I'll probably do something.
You're not going to do 14 gigs in 14 days of all your albums then?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'm far too lazy to try and rehearse all the things. I keep, I have something like 70 songs. I have like a playlist of, I tend to know what I'm going to start the show with and what I'm going to finish the show with. And then the middle, generally, I almost sort of busk it, almost like a DJ set when I sort of judge the audience, think about what sort of thing they might like. But at the same time, I'll go through this stuff and I'll look, I could play that one. And I think, I can't remember any of it at all. So yeah, I have to try and keep up with my rehearsing, really.
Your songs are very lyrically dense, which is kind of what makes them so special. And I think listening to your latest album, I couldn't believe how fast you were rapping in some of them. Really, really impressive. And Ankles, I was like, wow.
Oh, yes, Ankles. That's the fun one to play live. Actually, I did that one on Saturday. I did that, and I started talking about, this is a bit of Victorian eroticism, and I'm writing a song about a particular body part that most of us have two of, and that sort of thing. And I was saying all this stuff. This group of little kids came and stood at the middle, in the front of the stage. I was like,
I've not seen it live, but when you perform, is it just you and the one instrument, or do you have like loops or backing tapes, or how does it work?
It's me and the banjolele, and sometimes I have a little soprano trombone.
Oh, wow.
Actually, it's not even soprano trombone; it's a sopranino. Oh no, it's a piccolo trombone. So it's about that big, but it's an actual
cool.
trombone. I can't really play it, but I'll have a go.
It looks good. Yeah.
And occasionally a kazoo. Sometimes I'll bring a keyboard and do some piano things, but I have a backing track. I also have a looper as well.
Mhm.
So I'll sort of, there's a couple of tunes I sort of box and play and loop along with, just to get the, keep it mixed up a little bit, just like one man and a banjolele the whole time. Sometimes I'll put the banjolele down and just, drop some pure chap hop. Yes, other times, yeah, maybe take the piano if I can be bothered to bring it along. That sort of thing.
The album's got so much to it, like so many elements. So I guess you need to have like at least a backing take across you with like the opener, like chorus and the outro. Also, that's quite
Yes,
quite a lot of layers.
I mean, I tend to find it's often the ones that work live are the less dense, musically dense ones, because it's just, if there's just one chap on the stage who's largely relatively static due to having a banjolele and what have you, having an enormous amount of music going on tends to just there's a bit of a disconnect with the visual and the sound. So I often find the ones that work best live are the slightly more sparse ones. But they're always worth a go.
So how do you work the album? Do you just start with your own banjolele, or do you start with samples or loops? How does it work?
It can work in all sorts of ways, really. Sometimes it's I'll just come up with some chords on the banjolele. Some of them are written kind of like songs, so I'll make up some chords, work out. I'm always writing down ideas for song titles. It's usually just things people have said. Let me see if I can find some now. There we go. Often these things, you make these notes and then you look at the back and go, what on earth are you thinking? There's one, like a candle in a pork scratching. There you go, there's one of them. LL Killjoy. I quite like that one.
Oh,
yes,
that's good.
Yes. Popping worms back in the can. Grow ugly with me. That's a little ballad, I'm sure. Britain's Got Tablets. I mean, I don't really know what.
I feel like we're getting a proper exclusive here. Like,
I know, you may well
next album, I'm going to match this up and see how many.
Yeah, absolutely. Make a note. Make a note.
LL Killjoy, my personal favorite, but yeah.
Yes, LL Killjoy. I must do that.
I heard some Nirvana in the album.
Yes.
So are you put off by sometimes using other people's working case against? No, you get permission. How's it work when you use that sort of material?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think I fly just far enough under the radar to get away with most things. I mean, a lot of things if I use samples, generally speaking, they're samples from like the 1920s or something like that, so they're probably out of copyright now anyway.
So Mr. B is a copyright strategic.
Copyright strategic sampler, yes. And that's the thing. And sometimes if I steal jokes, I always say, I'm a hip hop artist. I don't steal jokes, I sample them.
Lovely.
So sometimes I'll start with a sample. Sometimes they'll just start with, I'll have a little, a chorus in my head of what the melody will go, and then I'll work it around that. It's many different ways. Sometimes I'll start with a piano. So lots of different ways, but usually just from notes like that, just thinking. Yeah, I think I've just bought an MPC1, like a beat making thing from a friend, and just made a beat on that. And it seemed that I just made a beat that would go with like a candle in a pork scratching. All I have to do now is work out what the very dense words are going to be around that. Sometimes I wish I wasn't rapping, because you could just, if you could put like 6 or 7 other words in there, it'd be great. But there's usually like, a couple of hundred every time I do anything.
Well, but going back to that, An Absolute Plum, which is the Nirvana song.
Yes.
I was really blown away by that, because I think I wasn't expecting such a recognizable rock song in there, and also the music video parodies the Smells Like Teen Spirit music video, which is very fun. So would you be seeking to do a bit more rock oriented stuff in future, or still more on I say that, I mean, your album, even though it is chap hop and hip hop oriented, the influences are very diverse, and I think we'll get into that. But some of the underrated songs that you picked, I was like, I can kind of hear the influences here in Jim's music. But where does rock sit amongst the hip hop for you in your composition and inspiration?
Well, really, with that song, it was. Really, the only properly Nirvana bit in it is the solo I do. Mm-hmm. And actually, now I play it live. But the main thing was, I've had a distortion pedal for years, and I was just thinking I must use a distortion pedal. So I finally plugged it in, and if you plug it into a banjolele, it's absolutely crazy. You almost can't get it to not feed back, which is kind of brilliant. So when I actually recorded it, I just, I played the banjolele and then did the distortion in post, as it were. But I wish I'd just plugged in a distortion pedal, because there's a bit of, I'd sort of sampled some distortion on the track, some feedback. There's a a little section that has feedback in it. But when I play it live, I can just hold the banjolele up and it just goes. It's very, very noisy.
Very
so
fun.
When I listen back to the track as recorded, the guitar solo thing, the banjolele solo is kind of quite subtle. When I play it live, it's just it's just feeding back all over the place. So it's quite glorious. So yeah, I think it's almost. I've also got a kind of a filter pedal and a couple of other pedals. I'm going to try and muck around with the sound of the banjolele a little bit more in the next one. I think, see what happens there.
Have you been approached to collaborate with any other artists, or is there anyone that you would like to have on your album, or do you like to do everything yourself, or how does it work?
Well, I mean, I did. I say with the song, yeah, Curious, so the opener for this album. There's a guy called Mega Ran on that, who's a nerdcore rapper from the States, who's brilliant. And that was it. I think I posted a video of me making the beat for that one, and he just sent me a message and said, "Oh, I really love that beat. If you want anything on it," and I thought, great, because I'm kind of planning on it almost being an instrumental. So I said, if you could just drop me a few bars about being curious about Mr. B and Chap Hop. And he did, and it's fantastic. But then I'd already recorded all of my vocals, and immediately just thought, I really ought to just record them because they're just not good enough. Because this verse is so good. Yeah, that was really nice. I mean, yeah, I tend to, especially if I was recording as I find it quite a sort of meditative, solitary thing. Really, I quite enjoy just doing stuff on my own. I always find if there's other people involved, I find myself almost, I suppose people pleasing and just thinking, oh, what are they going to want? What will they want this? And it kind of holds me back slightly. So I often, I know there's a few people I know do similar things that everyone loves collaborating with each other. And I'm a bit like, I'm just sort of sat here kind of going, well, I don't play well with others.
I think better to know that than to, be thinking that you should be collaborating and then as well. Although I guess with Collapsed Lung, they have had a few albums in recent years. And by the way, I love New Song from an Old Band.
Excellent. Good.
I really like that song, and of course, a great album title, 0 Hours Band. But is it then nice to have both sides? I think there's even more musical sides to you where when you want to do the collaboration, you can go to Collapsed Lung, which are people that you've known for a very long time, and then Mr. B, it's your project, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially with Collapsed Lung, Collapsed Lung 2.0, when we sort of came back, that's been really good to work with, because I think when we were doing it back in the 90s, we didn't have particularly defined. I mean, obviously, I was just the front man, the MC sort of thing, but it was a bit of a mishmash. Whereas now it's definitely sort of Ant produces and makes the beats, and then they'll give them to Johnny and Steve, the guitarist and bass player, and they'll work out their parts, which often completely change the mood of the whole thing, which is great. They'll find a beat that you think, oh, it's going in this sort of weird hard rock direction, and then suddenly you'll get, particularly Steve's guitar, you'll get this back, and it's suddenly this sort of slightly, mellow, kind of slightly pretty thing. So it's and it's a lot of fun. And I found that, I mean, and who produces also sort of does rapping along with me, but he's not often that keen on writing, so we've done almost little writing workshops, which have been really good, actually, just sitting down for a lot of verses and some of mine, just writing stuff together. So yeah, I can collaborate, it does get done. But just with Mr. B, maybe I'm a bit precious about it. I'm like, well, I don't think we'll get it right. There is a plan for a collaboration between three of us that in the near future, which should be good, which should be quite exciting. But I'll have to I've given you enough already. I've given you all my songs.
There's a lot of exclusives here. A lot of exclusives. We're very grateful.
Have you had many fans who followed you since those days to now?
Yes, yeah. Often, it's usually people that just, usually people that first discovered Mr. B don't know that I was in Collapsed Lung. So you often get people that go, "What? You were what?"
Oh yeah, I was that person. I have to say.
Oh really?
I think there was like a live performance of you doing Eat My God, and I was like, "Is that?" But he has no moustache. Like how? I don't understand. But the accent is different. But I guess it's not a good or a bad thing, right? I'm guessing it's quite funny to you then how people discover you. And I'm guessing, have you had a lot of new fans come in since the Sparks tour?
Yes, yeah, I have. Yeah, it's been really lovely. I mean, that's the thing. Sparks are the sort of band who their following is fervent and very nerdy. And so, which is great because they're exactly the sort of people you want as fans, because they're not going to chase whatever the latest thing. It's not that there is particularly latest things these days. I think the days of latest things have gone. I remember, recording things when I was doing stuff under the name of Sergeant Rock, the sort of breakbeaty stuff I was doing. I would record something and think, I've got to get it out now, because otherwise in 3 months' time it's going to sound old. Whereas that's disappeared completely now. I suppose that's the Spotification of everything, isn't it? That all music is there all the time.
But the reason I ask as well is because when I went to look at the Chat Pop history video, so I think it's about maybe 14, 15 years old, there were so many recent comments of people being like, why has the algorithm only recommended this to me now? So
Yes.
I think there are still people who are finding you through the internet, but it's a strange thing, isn't it? Like,
yeah, well, I guess that's the beauty of things just being out there the whole time, rather than it being, the old, you say, here's a record I've put out now, and everyone's bought it, so that's it, it's finished, move on.
done. Yeah.
All music is there now, so, and it stays there. So, but yeah, people do discover me. I'll find little people on TikTok doing a little thing about, I just saw this video of this guy doing this thing, and it's like, oh, it's me.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's nice that, that's one of the good things about the modern world, is that your music can just stay out there and people can discover it as and when, then find you years later and go, oh, you look a bit old now, didn't you?
I guess, the difficulty is, as you were saying, kind of reaching those people to be like, great, you like me, come and see me across the world. Yeah,
yes, how's about coming to a show? Yeah. Well, again, that's the other thing with with social media, is that you post, I don't know, just here's a cup of tea and get hundreds of likes, and you'll go, oh, by the way, I've got a gig, and it's like, no, I don't think so.
Speaking of, I was looking at your social media today, and I want to talk to you about your Pocket Square merch. So if
Yes.
you're looking for original merch, I don't know if anyone else is doing this, but I thought this was a very nice merch, especially because it's your album covers, isn't it? The Pocket Square.
Yes, exactly. The last 2 album covers. Maybe I'll do the whole lot at some point. But yeah, they're lovely, and they're really, and very handy as well, because they just, you could, they're not like carrying vinyl around with you or something like that. It's just like nice pocket squares. So yeah, silk pocket squares. And I've made them large enough so you can wear them as headscarves and neckerchiefs and things like that as well. So yeah, they're nice. And I'll do cufflinks as well. And I did for a while do a medal, which was quite pleasant, based on the knighthood medal, but just had a little picture of me in the middle that just said National Treasure on it. So yeah, it's nice to come up with. I think that's the whole beauty of it, is that you can play around with the tropes of the chappishness, and people often come up and say, "Have you not got any t-shirts?" I'm like, "Well,
how dare you?
How dare you? Mr. B wouldn't be seen in one of those. Maybe an undershirt, perhaps, or
maybe one of those temporary tattoos with your moustache on it. The most, if I
perhaps,
dare suggest.
Yes,
But
exactly.
yeah,
That kind
I'm
of
trying
thing
to
could
think.
work.
What's the most? I think Carrier, the Finnish guy who almost won Eurovision a few years ago. I went to see him live, and I bought wooden earrings with his face on it. And it's quite interesting because he's Finnish, and I think Finland has like a big woods sector. So I was like, this feels very on brand. But what's quite funny is when I wear them, people can't really see that it's his face. And one of my friends was like, "Oh, I thought you were wearing like some kind of African tribal." I'm like, absolutely not. It's a crazy Finnish man in lime green. So I think with special things like that, I think I have too many t-shirts. Definitely, I'm looking for an earring, bandana, something like that. Yeah, Fran, what about you?
Yeah.
What's the
I'm thinking that the most random merch I had was, there's a Swedish band called I'm From Barcelona, and they had kazoos with their merch.
Oh, very good. Yes.
With honest, so yeah, that's the best I've got. I know U2 and Jealous had condoms famously, but
I've got a Franz Ferdinand condom as well. Yeah.
People have asked me about, because I do play kazoo a bit during the show. Because I'm that talented. If I were to sell kazoo, and people say, why don't you sell kazoos? And I'd say, if I were to sell kazoos, I would definitely sell them after the gig.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because people say, you should give out kazoos. And absolutely no. No. That would be a terrible idea.
I did get to play that kazoo on stage with the band, so that was one of my most rocking moments. Wow. Thank you very much. I am obviously a professional kazoo player.
Very good. Hat duly doffed.
So you mentioned that Mega Ran, who's on your album, is nerdcore. So this, despite Fran and I being music fans, I would say that neither of us are particularly knowledgeable about hip hop. It's definitely, for me, an area that I'm getting into more regularly. I had never heard of nerdcore. I'd obviously heard of chat pop, but for the uninitiated, could you summarize it for us? Because I think if people like chat pop, they would definitely like nerdcore.
Yeah, it's in a way it does what it says on the tin. It's hip hop, but about nerdy things, often usually about video games. I mean, so I'm not really much of a gamer, so I'm slightly different from a lot of them. But I did play on. There was a guy. Oh my gosh, why am I MC Frontalot? Oh God, I'm glad I remembered. Yes, MC Frontalot, who's top nerdcore rapper, and I played on one of his tunes a few years ago. Played some banjolele for him and things like that, and did a little bit of rapping on it. And there's Mega Ran and a few. Yeah, there's a fair few others, but it's just sort of hip hop stuff, but about cosplay and video games and LARP and that sort of thing. And it's a lot of fun.
What I particularly enjoyed about this album, and I think Mr.B in general, is, the point is that you're bringing back the best of the British gentleman, right? Like a lot of these songs are about, we're living these strange times. I really like how nevertheless inclusive and gentle it feels, even though obviously a traditional British gentleman is very kind of white upper class. What I really like about music is it's kind of calling everyone in. And yeah, I especially loved performative masculinity is making the world sick and bringing chumming back.
Yes.
And of course, what ladies want. So thank you for that.
Yes, of course. What ladies want. Yeah, that was one that I was thinking, is this going? No, it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. I think, people, it's so easy to take things out of context these days.
Mhm.
Whereas I'm hoping the context is clear in these things. But also it's, I think if ever anybody says the word woke, it's usually they don't know what it is. And people who, woke people don't use that word anyway. And it's just, I'd say, you may call it woke, but I'll just call it common decency.
Exactly.
That's all it is, really. It's just if someone, just let people be as they want to be, if they're being nice, and generally speaking, they are. So,
And what a good message to end this section with.
Underrated.
So, Jim, we did what we normally do for these special episodes, which is ask for 5 underrated songs from 5 underrated artists, with no parameters. I just asked for 5 underrated songs that you like. I know you said it was difficult to pick, right? I think when there's no parameters, it's a bit tricky.
yes. I think I just had to do one of those things where I just wrote them down. I went straight through, and
done.
I'll probably I'll get halfway through this and go, oh, why didn't I do that one? Why
It's
didn't I
okay.
do that
We
one?
have time for tangents if there's more that you want to talk about. But yeah, do you want to get started? What's the first song that you picked of your underrated
Okay,
songs?
the first song I picked was what was it? The Sun and the Rain by Madness. Mainly because it's almost the thing with Madness is part of my bugbear with what you might say music and comedy, or music that's considered to be amusing in any way at all. And obviously they started off, they were the Nutty Boys, and all their videos were usually quite daft. And I think there's almost a thing that if you're considered to be amusing, then you're not considered to be musically worthwhile. I think, generally that seems to be the critical view, is if you can be doomy and talk about dark things, then everyone's, oh wow, yeah, that's really quite something. But there's a couple of lyrics I've mentioned it there's what's it in the song, never underestimate the depth of my lack of depth, from National Treasure. There's a song, it's easy to make you cry and hard to make you laugh, and either way I can't be asked. But it's a part of that. But I think the thing with Madness is, I think Madness are generally, even though they're a very successful band and they still have a huge legion of fans, I think they're generally not seen as one of the best British bands of all time. And I think this, they went on in a way a similar journey to like the Beatles, where they started off. The Beatles were a very sort of simple kind of rock and roll band, and Madness were a kind of simple-ish ska band, and then they gradually segued through various things. And the last, the later era of Madness songs, and this is a band that I never really bought their stuff back in the day. I wasn't particularly a fan then. It's almost just something I've thought since. And the last ones, as I say, the Sun and the Rain, if the string arrangements on it, I mean, I'm an absolute sucker for strings on pop songs. The string arrangements on their last few songs, their later era, are just stunning, just really beautiful. And a lot of the songs were very melancholy. And there was a certain, sort of British melancholy about them that I appreciate, and occasionally try to emulate myself. whenever I think I can get away with it.
Did you know this song, Fran? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I did know it, and I double checked like the chart position and got to number 5. But
Mm,
I think you're right though. Although it may have been successful back in the day, it's not really played on the radio at all.
no,
Like I've seen them live a few times, and I don't recall them even playing this.
no, possibly not actually. No.
But maybe because of the string, maybe it's harder to pull off. But yeah, I remember as a kid, I liked Madness. And then remember, like when they started to tour in the noughties, I was kind of put off by their fan base because they had a lot of those like pork pie hats and oi oi nutty boys. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, so I think they kind of put me off. But then when you play this song, I love this. I love Wings of a Dove. You're reminded of how great they were as songwriters. And when I was listening to this earlier, I thought this reminds me a bit of ELO in
Right. Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
Maybe because of the strings and the latter-day Beatles and their melodies and that piano, and it had such a lush chorus. It's moved so far away from the ska, and like yeah, I thought it was a great song. And
Mm,
looking at the YouTube clips, so many people are saying how this has healed their
Yes.
depression and how they're struggling, and this song came on and like yeah, it really cheered them up. So
mm.
yeah, I was like, it seems like yeah, this song it seems to be loved, but I'm surprised it isn't played as much. Although I don't know if I'm a big fan of the do do do's at the end, but apart from that, I loved
Oh,
it.
I'm a sucker for a do.
I
No,
do.
I
I
don't
like
know.
a do for Duran, but I'm not too sure. It felt like they ran out of lyrics a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, possibly. I guess they were thinking, oh, this song's going on for a while. Let's just do the. Yeah. I should do that. I should do that more myself a bit. Yes. But I mean, it's really, really, this song's kind of an example of that sort of the later era Madness stuff, I think. And I think,
Mm,
and even things like, One Better Day is an incredibly melancholy song. And yeah, and a few of the other, like Michael Caine also is just a really, really beautiful pop song. Just really beautifully crafted, just piece of work, piece of art, really.
This is really interesting because what I thought when you picked Madness, I thought, oh, this actually could be a very good band because the way this normally works, Jim, is that we'll pick a theme and then we'll pick a band that might be overrated and a band that might be underrated. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
putting the question of whether Madness is overrated would be a good one because I am one of those people, I only know the hits with Madness.
Mm,
And so when this came along, I was like, okay, there's some elements of Madness, the piano sounds very Madness to me, but the strings were so beautiful. This is the you've got the pizzicato strings early on.
mm,
You have the more urgent ones in the second half, and then you have these grandiose swelling strings at the end. Gorgeous, unexpected key change. And the
mm.
lyrics were just beautiful. Like it was really moving to see, like Fran said, all the people in the YouTube comments talking about how, when they've been in the depths of their depression, this is the kind of song that brings them up because it is about kind of, I guess, well, being happy in the rain at face value, but dealing with the troubles of life.
Mm.
And the music video is great. I love their orange outfits.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Suggs washing out his ear to try and get the people out. So this was a huge surprise to me because this was not the Madness that I knew. So clearly,
But at the same time, like as Fran said, it was still a top 5 hit
mm,
as well. You say you think of the hits, but I suppose you think of the early, slightly
yeah.
early ones. But even things like Our
mm.
House is a stunning track as well. And again,
Hmm.
really amazing strings on that as well.
But this is the thing. It's you. I only know probably Baggy Trousers, Our House, and they're the ones that are played to death.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, what's your second pick, Jim?
Dead to It by Heron, which is actually new. It's from he's releasing his album this year, but he's doing it one tune at a time. So he's had 3 out. The one's called Transcendental Meditation. He lives in India now, so he's somebody who, funnily enough, is when I was doing my Sergeant Rock thing, which was at the turn of the century, my sort of dance music thing. I think I bought his album. They had an album called The Brown Room out on Hut, which is sort of indie subsidiary of Virgin. And I remember buying it, and I think there's a review saying he was like the British Beck. And so I thought, well, that sounds interesting. And I bought this album, and it's great. It's really odd. And yeah, in a way, slightly madness-like in places. It's melodic, but it's got odd piano and, yeah, a lot of vocal sound, sort of slightly radio-ish, as it were, like an old radio thing. Yeah, I think I must have sent him an email or something like that and said I'd really liked his stuff. And then he asked, I told him about my stuff, and he liked what I was doing. And we've kind of kept in touch a bit. He's not done anything for a good few years, probably 15 years almost. And
Wow.
he had another album called Heron versus Heron, but then he got dropped. And so not many people heard it. But that's, just really great kind of funk pop sort of music. And yeah, so this new stuff he's got. And this Dead to It one is a sort of slower one and just sort of very melodic. And this is it. It's unusual. I'm sitting here as basically a sort of hip hop artist just talking about strings and melodies and things like that. But I just think it's something that I just really, really like, and I think more people should hear.
Well, I think you're definitely right there because I noticed he had less than 700 people a month on Spotify.
Right, okay.
Which is barely anything
Yeah,
at all,
absolutely,
really.
yeah.
Yeah, and I could barely find anything on the internet or a music video. But yeah, it does remind me a bit of Elliott Smith and the lighter textures. And then when it became a bit more glorious, it almost felt like the polyphonic spree, but without the choir.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
that
I
makes
love a
sense.
bit of the polyphonic spree, yeah.
It's like put your hands up in the air. So it does, yeah, hits with bases. I heard is it a cello and guitar at the end of it. It was beautiful. I mean, he has some sort of strange studio effect in his voice. Did he have an injury on his vocal cords?
Yes, he did. Yes, yeah. I think he's just had it operated on and is recovering from it now, I think. So
yeah, just surprised when I looked at the numbers, thinking, "Wow, this guy is not getting any play at
no,
all."
I know.
He needs to be so definitely underrated. Without
I think that's
yeah.
it. I think I'm often going down that route of the underrated, just the underheard.
Yeah.
But also his stuff's really diverse. It's like, say, Transcendental Meditation. The track is a sort of slow, funky, sort of sludging Prince type thing. And then he's had one after that, which I can't remember what the middle song was called, but that's more of a kind of hyper pop sort of song. So yeah, it's quite diverse, the stuff that he does. It's a real mix. So yeah,
this song was a real surprise because when you have this kind of woozy acoustic guitar piano start, when the vocals come in, this almost sounds like US emo. I'm very surprised to hear that he's English. I thought he was American. Yeah, the way that the instruments are laid, and then when the auto tune comes in, I was like, "What genre is?" I was like, "Is this indie folk emo electro?" I have no idea what this is. And I have to say, like, I'm not a huge fan of kind of Elliott Smith and Sufjan Stevens, but this song I thought was really moving, and I thought, especially on repeated listens, once you get into it, it surprised me. And my favorite YouTube comment was someone saying, "What a vibe! Perfect for a late night drive under a starry sky." And why not?
There you go. Absolutely, yeah.
So your next pick is someone that we've actually mentioned before, Sergeant Rock.
Ah, yes. There you go. Yeah, you found me out. Oh no.
Programmer Jim Burke. Ah, I see.
Yeah, no, this is like my radio show now. It's like I just I've got I have a monthly show on a local radio station, just play loads of my own music.
Listen, Jim, we gave you no parameters. No one said you couldn't put in another persona.
Did that come from your lockdown DJ sessions? Did they come from that, your radio show? Or...
I was doing the radio show before that, but yeah, I started doing.
Okay.
Well, I had a big birthday in the start of lockdown, and I had a party planned and everything like that, and that obviously all got cancelled. And so I decided to just have a little DJ party at home on Facebook, and so I did that. And obviously everyone was locked down, so I had a couple of hundred people at least watching in. And yeah, then people saying, "Oh, you should do it next week as well." So I did it the next week, and then I did it the following week, and then I had my Facebook shut down through endless copyright strikes, of course. So I moved it all to Mixcloud. Yeah, so Mixcloud's great because it pays PRS and it doesn't, it's all above board, so you can play whatever you like. But I did end up doing, about a year and a half into doing these. So yeah, they became a weekly thing, and then I still do them. But I ended up doing 2 nights that I called they were called Nisolation parties, and I ended up doing 2 nights called Narsolation parties, which are, it's a bit of a mangling of portmanteau, but they were just basically, I just played all the things I played were just things that I'd made or things, bands I'd been in or that sort of thing.
Why not?
Why not? I did realize that I did a playlist for it, and the playlist was over a day long.
Wow.
So I had over 24 hours of just my music. So I ended up doing it over 2 nights. It was about 9 hours, I think, something like that, of just me playing. I don't know how these people put up with it, to be honest with you. But yes. And Sergeant Rock was was what I did after Collapsed Lung and before I did Mr.B and various other little bits and bobs. I did a thing under the name of Sergeant Rock. The first thing I did, which you will definitely be able to find on Spotify, is I remixed the first 2 Billy Piper singles.
Oh, I love it.
So both Because We Want To and Girlfriend both have a Sergeant Rock. Didn't do Honey to Be, sadly. I did do a remix of Day and Night, but they
another great song. God, she burnt brightly, didn't she? Even if it was only
she did, yeah.
But so Sergeant Rock is acid P-Funk.
Kind of, yes. That's sort of it. I suppose it's, big beat, I guess, was what was happening at the time. So it was, everyone was doing dance music, basically. Everyone had sort of moved from, I think we used to go to the original Sunday socials with the Heavenly Sunday socials, which was where all the Chemical Brothers started out and people like that all started playing. And it was basically that kind of mixing elements of indie and elements of dance music, and it ended up kind of slightly gelling all together and congealing into sort of big beat, which slightly ate itself. But yeah, I had this album out, but it was I was a friend of mine who I knew through Collapsed Lung. There's a chap called Gary Walker who runs Ouija Records that had Biss and Corner Shop and Huggy Bear on their roster. And I was sort of friendly with him, and I'd made a CD of 3 remixes I'd done and 3 original tracks, and sent them over to him and just said, who do you think I should send these to? Who do you think should listen to these? And he said, well, why don't you come in and we'll have a chat about it? And he took me out for lunch and said, I'll sign you. I went, okay, great. All right then, sounds good. So he did. And so I had an album out called Live the Dream, and it sold absolutely nothing. Really, I even once, I think, was in, because it was all part of Beggars Banquet. So I was in the Beggars Banquet office and someone had the sales report for the week of all the Beggars Banquet things, which included like XL records and things like that. So I think like the Prodigy was at the top. And I just kept looking down. I was thinking, well, why is my album not on it? Oh, right, there it is. And it was at the very bottom. I think it sold about 20 or something like that. But it was plundered for ads and TV and films and things like that. So it was almost, I spent the next few years just answering the phone going, yeah, if you want to use it for that, fine. And that was how I made my money, just getting used on TV and films and the occasional advert.
When the album didn't do as well, was there no radio? Did you guess it wasn't going anywhere? What was the reason on your side?
Well, I mean, I think the thing was that one of the great things about Ouija Records, which is why it was great to sign to them, because Gary was always known as someone who would stick with the band for a bit and stick. If there's so much, in music, if you throw everything at the wall and if none of it sticks, that's it, you're done. Whereas he tended to stick with people and see it out. But I was halfway through finishing the second album, and I used to run a club night in Brixton called Ricochet, and he came along to that and he just said, I'm leaving the label. I was like, what? And he just decided that he'd had enough. And so that was kind of it, really, because the whole thing was based around him and, his enthusiasm for everything. So, yeah, a bit of a shame, because who knows? The second one might have been the one that broke through. Who knows?
Did you make a big choice to not follow hip hop after Collapsed Lung? Like, did you want to do something completely different?
Well, we did a band called Junior Blanks after Collapsed Lung, which was 3 members of Collapsed Lung. And I think, because Steve, our guitarist, was unwell for a while, so he sort of left the band. And after we did, Eat My Goal, which was a sort of, minor hit, that kind of, we put a couple of singles out, or one single out after that, and it did even worse than we'd done before. And we kind of thought, okay, the song was definitely bigger than the band. So we decided to just change things up a little bit. So we did a thing called Junior Blanks, which there's 2 albums on Bandcamp. And I think our remit then was I don't think it actually ended up sounding like it at all, but in our minds we had breakbeat ELO. That's what our plan
ELO
was.
getting a second mention.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's a lot about ELO. I love a bit of ELO. I guess in the same way that Duran Duran wanted to be a cross between the Sex Pistols and Chic.
Yeah,
they weren't exactly, but so the same way that we weren't exactly.
It's nice to have a goal, isn't it?
Yeah, we weren't exactly breakbeat ELO. So yeah, I think it was a conscious thing to not. Yeah, I think hip hop generally sort of fell out of favor a little bit in the late 90s. So yeah, this is just, I think I'm actually planning on possibly bringing back the Sergeant Rock live show, because the live show was always fun. I just had my brother in a boiler suit and there was a Sergeant Rock logo, was basically a smiley face, but with the sergeant chevron instead of the smile. And we had this big foam head made for him. He'd just dance around in that. And I had a girl doing some singing who was very tall and wore high heels and had like a boob tube and things like that, and was dancing and singing. And also had my friend Dickie, who went under the name of Super Dickie, which is the first single I had out. And he was a larger man who wore, he had a luchador mask, and basically came out and said swear words after every 16 bars. There you go.
Bring it back.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
A bit more
yeah,
difficult to organise, I imagine, than the Mr. B roadshow, but
just a little bit. But I think that people are keen.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think my brother and my friend Dickie are keen just because they still think that I owe them money from the last.
Well, so I did not realize the song was in Bring It On, which I only saw for the first time
Yes, it
in the
was.
last
Yes.
year. Like it's held up reasonably well as a film. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
When this came on, I was so in the mood for this because I've been making my way through Billboard's top 100 dance hits. So there's this article that they've created them, and it's quite US centric as you'd imagine, but it's quite an eclectic range. So I was like, oh, this just fits in perfectly with what I've been listening to. And I have
Oh, very
to
good.
say that, I checked out your album Live the Dream, and you have a song called So Many Reggie Perrins at the Arse End of Space, and that's my
There you go.
favourite named track, I think,
Very good.
of the
Actually,
project.
re-record. Well, actually, I have another song as Mr. B called "So Many Reggie Perrins in the Arse End of Space" as well.
There we go.
There you
There we
go.
go.
I
I missed that
ripped off
one,
my
clearly.
own song title. But yes, no, there was another song. There was another Sergeant Rock song on the film. Was it 40 Days and 40 Nights with Josh
Josh
Hartnett?
Hartnett. Oh my gosh, yeah,
Yep.
this is my teenage years, yeah. But Bring It On passed me by, but yeah. I remember going to watch that at the cinema.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's the
Bring It On.
song because he obviously has to not
Yeah, not
for 40 Days and 40 Nights. And
Mhm.
it's a bit like the Seinfeld episode, The Contest,
Mm.
but in a different way. But my song is the song that's finally played when he gets his end away at the very end of the film. He's in the other room and they keep playing my song. He plays my song and then it stops. And they go, oh, he must have finished.
Oh,
And then it
that's
starts up
funny.
again. And they're like, oh, right, there's still, yes.
And he couldn't even have a think break.
No,
Poor guy.
there you go, yeah. Actually, I feel like I have to explain that one a little bit more, just as much as someone came up to me after a festival a couple of weeks ago and said, so what is a think break? Is it like if you have like lots and lots of thoughts? I'm like, oh, no, it's much more descriptive than that, I'm afraid. That would be far too clever.
But yeah, Fran, what did you think of Dada Strutting?
Yes, it reminded me of the band Bent Rhythm
Okay,
Aches
yes.
a little bit, maybe with the bluesy guitar, and that's what that might be. But obviously, I especially enjoyed the synths at the end of it. It sort of goes down like a beautiful sonic synth route, which is nice.
Yeah, I tended to like to do that. They'll be just
Did
sort
you?
of thing. I suppose Justice do that as well. Don't they? They'll play a thing that's quite riffy, and then the
Yeah,
riff will be integrated into some chords that move around and things like that.
I'm a sucker for that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, I do like a bit of that.
Over underrated.
Speaking of something which has lots of different layers, what's your next track?
Oh, My Baby's Taking Me Home by Sparks. There you go. Obviously, Sparks, you wouldn't necessarily say they were underrated just because they, obviously, well, without wishing to show off, but I will show off.
Please do. This is the section for you to do so. Yep.
Yeah, I've supported them on 2 tours now and did the Royal Albert Hall for 2 nights with them
Wow.
a couple of years ago, which was
Wow.
brilliant and just slightly ridiculous. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're just maybe. I tell people I've been on tour with Sparks, and not enough people know who they are. They kind of go, "Oh, I don't know who that is." Do you go, really?
Yeah, especially now after the film and everything,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in a way, I don't think they're necessarily underrated. They're just maybe just underappreciated, perhaps, or underheard again. But this is for a band that obviously have just played a big tour of large theatres and played at the 2 nights at the Royal Albert Hall a couple of years ago. So I think they're doing okay. But I think it's just with them, especially the bits in the film that really touched me were the times in like the mid 90s when they couldn't get arrested, and they would still every day. Ron would go around to Russell's house and they'd make music. And I think that's the thing with them, and knowing them a bit now and everything like that. They're obviously they're mysterious characters, but they get up in the morning and they are Sparks, and that's what they do, and that's what they are. Foregone various other parts of life that other people would have just carried on with, and they just are Sparks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who got into them after the film. I think before the film, I
Right.
knew obviously this town ain't big enough. Maybe number one song in heaven, very big, but maybe I wouldn't have even known that was Sparks. But the film was incredible, and I think it's not just that their music is good and funny and inventive. you are so inspired by the drive. Yeah, it's even feels strange even calling it a drive because that sounds almost so like corporate, but it's just like their dedication, their yeah, the fact, like you say, isn't it that that every morning they'll go to a place and have a coffee and then they'll go and make music. Whether it's, doing better, doing worse across all these different time periods, it's really impressive. And this song, so when I saw Sparks, that it was on the set list, and yeah, having this with the crowd is amazing. And a song this repetitive shouldn't work, and obviously the piano and harmonies and the strings make it better. I wrote that I would love to sing this with a choir. I would absolutely love to sing this with a choir where you take different melody lines.
Oh yeah. Well, it's an incredible piece of work as far as it. Yeah, just think it's just he just sings "My baby's taking me home." That's it, over and over and over again. That's what he sings, basically throughout the entire thing. But it's just kind of gripping and beautiful, and just it's really astonishing. It's just really an amazing piece of work.
Yeah, and it was really nice to again read all the positive YouTube comments being like, "Little Beethoven should be mentioned in the same breath as Led Zeppelin and this and that and the other." And I never seen the music video, this kind of semi-animated music video with the two of them, which has kind of aged, but in a charming way. I thought the music video.
Yeah.
I mean, Fran, I presume you knew this song, right?
So I had the best of growing up in the 90s, and then I started a job at Virgin Megastore, and this album came out. And I remember putting this on as we're cleaning up, thinking, this is nothing what I expected from Sparks, like with like the strings. But I remember not liking this because when you first hear this, it's kind of, whoa, is that it, the whole song? So I think I didn't even get to the end of it until I saw the film. And I think in the film they showed them doing it live, and I thought, oh, I should probably re-listen to that. And then when I re-listened to it and actually gave it a chance, I then found, yeah, okay, there's something deep this. But I remember when I played it two or three times on the CD, I thought, oh, I'll skip that. Is this it for like, the whole song? I can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, but there's some fantastic. It's like the rhythm piece is one of my favourite songs by Sparks. It's beautiful, and it reminds me a bit of Stuart Lee, but for music. Just keep repeating that same formula, but it goes round and comes back at the end even bigger.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
And yeah, I think we have to mention, obviously, Jim, that you have an EP of Sparks covers called Larks and Sparks. Tell us
I
about
do,
it.
yes. Well, that was the thing. I remember when they announced that they were going to be playing at the Royal Albert Hall, and I got in touch with their manager because I originally went on tour with them in 2018, and that came about because somebody on Twitter, someone tweeted me and said, "You should support Sparks," and I said,
Wow.
"Yes, of course I should." And end of. So, and then I played a show in Hitchin, and this woman came up to me and said, "Oh, I was the one that tweeted you about playing with Sparks, and I'm kind of, my husband does their website, and I know they're looking for people to support them on the UK leg of the tour, and I know that I think they know who you are." So it's funny. I was actually in the studio with Collapsed Lung, and Ant from Collapsed Lung is a really big Sparks fan. And I got an email just saying, "Okay, we've been waiting to hear from you. What's your tech and what's your availability?" And I was like, "What?" And I said, "I think I'm supporting. I think I've got a thing about supporting Sparks." And Ant went, "Really?" He went, "Oh, Mr.B, isn't it?" Yeah, he went, "All right, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." The boy, for a minute, he was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna." Oh right, yeah, no.
I mean, I would love to see them singing "Eat My Goal" personally.
That would be good. Yeah,
with some piano, why not?
Be good. But so I think I did one in Leeds and one in London. And the one in London, I was fully expecting just to play to, 50 old men who were stood at the bar at the back of the thing. But the whole place was packed. And it was and it felt, because it's London as well, which is where I'm from originally, I think a lot of people knew who I was. And it just felt like a headline gig. It was brilliant. So I was immediately, taken into the bosom of the Sparks fandom. And then their manager came up to me afterwards and she said, "Oh, we're going to Europe next week. Are you around?" I was like, "I can be. I can be around." So I ended up going to Europe with them. And then, when I heard they were playing at the Albert Hall, I emailed their manager and didn't hear anything back. So I thought, okay, I know she only sort of gets in touch if she needs to. Mm-hmm. And then it was about a month before, probably not even a month, probably 3 weeks to a month before. And she said, "We've had a bit of an idea. Would you be up for playing some Sparks covers as support for the Sparks show, in a chap hop style?" And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And I managed to completely overdo it and do a sort of 11-minute 11-song Sparks medley, which, as we know Sparks songs, they're not the simplest songs in the world, And so, I completely stitched myself up by doing this thing. So I did a song, Here Comes Bob, from their first album. I started with that just on the banjolele, which was very nerve-wracking because I nearly always have a backing track. And so just getting out there in front of the Sparks fans for the first show, I think it was Oxford, and just playing and picking at the banjolele, which I don't often do either. I was thinking, what have I done to myself here? So I did feel, I don't usually get nervous at gigs, but I could feel my knees knocking. And so, I did Suburban Homeboy, and I did this big Sparks medley that I called Larks and Sparks. And for the cover of it, I think it was when we were in Brussels, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
I said, we haven't had a photo yet. And so can we get a photo? And so there's okay. I said, but can we have a photo like we're a band? Can we do a band shot? So we all stood at, Ron was like looking miserable like he does. It was actually, he's an incredibly nice man. And Russell was just looking cool. And I was in the middle in a sort of dinner jacket and Adidas trainers and what have you. And so I asked if I could put that on the cover of the EP. So yes, there is an EP called Larks and Sparks of Mr.B doing Sparks covers.
What a lovely story. This is so nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I have to say, I always get so nostalgic as well when it's like Twitter was the conduit for something like
it was, yes.
Before. I mean, again, I am really enjoying being on Blue Sky, but it's not the same thing. It's not quite the same thing.
Is that EP available?
It's on Bandcamp. It's just on on my Bandcamp page. It's not on Spotify. I could probably put it on Spotify. I have to have a word with them. Maybe on Spotify at some point, but just pay me for it.
Well, yeah, you have a deal. You have a deal on Bandcamp where you can buy your whole discography, which I'm like, let's go and do things like this, and Collapse Lung as well. So, wow, brilliant.
Yeah, no, but that's fine. I think that's the thing. It's so I tend to put it Bandcamp first, and the week after I'll put it on CD. Then like a month later, when I know that most of the people that are going to buy it have bought it, then I'll put it on streaming. So, and and then people can buy the CD at gigs and then listen to it on Spotify. It's fine. But it's just, it's that thing. It's just more and more the devaluing of music in general is something we have to try and fight against.
Absolutely. Don't get me started on AI generated bands. Oh God. Anyway.
Oh God.
Let's finish on your. I really enjoyed your last pick from Graham Cartner.
Yes, Graham Cartner. It's was it Chiltern Walk .temp? I think it's just the .temp is just, it was on an album called, was it Temporary Trends? I can't remember what it's called. He's had quite a few albums out. And I first discovered this there was a guy who does this really odd video game-esque animation, these odd animations on YouTube called Anonymous. And they usually feature kind of ostriches and lots of birds or people with birds' heads dancing to weird music, and this is one of the weird pieces of music. I just thought, this is brilliant. It's this odd, slightly discordant, wonky kind of pop dance thing. And then so I found out who it was by, and then discovered all his other stuff. His other stuff's equally bonkers, and he actually sings on some of it. And it's just it's almost that he has everything sort of tremoloed, almost just all the keyboards are kind of go, they're never in a nice sort of flat wave. They're always all over the place. And it's just kind of weird, off-key, amazing electronic pop music. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it's one of those things that I think I played to a few people who I thought would love it, and they don't like it at all.
See, I love this. So I can tell you what I wrote, which is not very academic. I put, ooh, so woozy, so distorted. Sounds like summertime on the beach in the 90s with your face melting, but you don't mind. And looks like someone is having fun.
That's good.
That's what it reminded me of, anyway. And looks like someone is having fun with a pitch bend key on a keyboard, because it's just so like, ooh, you think exactly. it gets you. I'd never heard of him. I'd never heard of him, and I went to look him up, and it says, he's an electronic musician known for his work in styles such as hypnagogic pop, which I've never heard of, glitch and experimental, and apparently he has another pseudonym called Food Court 97, where he releases vaporwave, which is one of those genres.
Stuff's amazing, yes.
Yes, so it's worth listening to as well.
Yes, absolutely. His stuff. That was the thing. I was trying to find. I couldn't remember what his other thing was called until you reminded me now. So that's good.
Thank you,
Internet. Yeah, some of that stuff is crazy. I say I do love a bit of vaporwave. It's so odd. it's such an odd, almost non-genre of music because it's just early 90s things slowed down.
But I couldn't name an artist or track. Yeah, this is the thing. Yeah, it's Like I find it very addictive. Because it's so short as well, it's under 2 minutes, I put it on over and over again. And I felt that the songs about words, kind of your, let's say your spelling songs, the beats reminded me a little bit of this because I listened to them after listening to this song. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. I love to learn about Victoriana and have this in the back, stuff like this in the background. Why not? Why
Exactly,
not?
yes. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, in the last isolation I did, I was because I get a looper out now. I've started doing that, so I'll usually just DJ. But if I'll find a little loop or something like that, or part of a song that I like, I'll just rewind it, put it in the looper, and then start playing stuff over the top of it. And so I ended up making something on. There's a fantastic thing I've got on my phone called the Koala Sampler.
Right, I've not heard of it.
Which is just it's a little. Well, I don't know there. It's just a little thing that you can just sample things into. And
okay, that sounds fun.
Right, that's lots of screaming. But I did, funnily enough, do a. Where was it? I did do a Graham. Oh yeah, this has got a little. I'm just going to play this through the microphone.
Brilliant.
This is obviously great. So that's the Graham Cartner loop with me playing a bass harmonica on top of it and a beat. And I'll put some other bits of beats on it. And then you can play around with these things and do all sort of.
I love it.
It's really good fun.
Do you have any live recordings at all? Especially on CD or anything?
No, not on CD. I suppose, in a way, because I use a backing track, it's a bit sort of. I'd feel a bit like I was just cheating people a bit. Just like, well, it's basically the same as the album. Yeah, it's got Banjo Lady, it's got my voice and a backing track. It's you just occasionally hear people.
But can you update songs from the past though?
I tend to. I'm thinking of revisiting a few of them, and funny enough, Just Like a Chap has never really worked live for some reason. I don't know why. So I might try and do a sort of slight re-record of that and see if anything happens with that. And I think I'm planning on mixing it up a bit and doing a bit more looping and a bit more mucking around with things live just to see what happens.
Do you enjoy finding new technology for creating music?
I do. I'm a little bit of a sucker for a gadget. I'm not very techy. That's the problem, you see. I'm not very techy at all. Well, I say I've got this. Let me find. I'm gonna have to get it out of the case. I bought it off a friend. The MPC one. So usually I buy these little gadgets, but this is a bit more of a solid piece of kit here. And it's got a sort of touch screen and everything like that. But it's really great. I mean, the MPC was always what all great hip hop songs were made on. The old MPCs, like the MPC 1000 and that sort of thing. Whereas, this is an updated version. So it's a little bit. I bought it off of Ant from Collapse London, who's very techie and very good at production and things like that, and likes to deep dive into things. Whereas I tend to like things that just go, right, well, this worked now. Oh, and if it doesn't, I get disheartened. So this is definitely something I'm having to try and change my mindset and sit down with it and go, okay, if it doesn't work the first time, don't just put it away again. Just work your way through it. There's, lots of tutorials for it everywhere. So it's almost a little, bit of brain training for me, really. It's coming up with some good results.
Hang on, Fran, you haven't given your feedback on Graham Cartner.
Oh, yes.
Well, what I did notice is there's a 4-minute half-speed version on YouTube.
Is there?
So if you want something weird, try that version. I don't know who it's for, but it exists.
I feel like are you going to have to be on drugs to enjoy that?
Well, yeah, I put down. I think everything you said, vaporwave, and I thought it's unsettling. It's a trip. It's like M83 on ketamine. It was, it's like a weird, enjoyable ride.
Yeah, I guess the ketamine thing, is probably, it's a slightly out of body experience thing, isn't it? It's a bit, it's very woozy.
Before you leave, Jim, can you plug everything, your music, your Edinburgh show? Where shall we send our listeners towards?
Well, I mean, yes, my Edinburgh show is starting. It's from next Tuesday, the 5th to the 9th. So just the first week at the Voodoo Rooms. There's my new album Be Curious of the same name is on Mr.B the Gentleman Rhymer.bandcamp.com.
Very good.
There's gentlemanrhymer.com, my website for all gig details when I when I update them. So sometimes they're the new gigs, sometimes they're like last summer's gigs. No, hopefully that'll remind me to update them. So and then I'm at Gentleman Rhymer on Instagram and well, not really doing Twitter now. You sort of look around the door and go, oh no, shut the door again.
Scary people there. Yeah.
And TikTok, a little bit of TikTok. I dip my toes. So yes, that's where things happen.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jim. It was really lovely to talk to you about your career and to hear not only your underrated songs, but kind of why they were your underrated songs. I think that was very interesting. We normally end with one of us asking the other, any message, anything to say, Fran? Anything to add?
Well, I guess we mentioned a bit about small venues closing. I think last week the Royal Albert Hall did announce they will be giving money to grassroots places. So you mentioned you were at the Royal Albert Hall recently, so that's good for that. Finally, some of the bigger venues are actually going to start giving money back to help out with small venues. So as a positive,
good news.
Let's hope that the O2 can do the same.
We'll see. We won't hold our breath, but yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, I guess going back to the beginning of take a chance on the smaller acts, as we say. Go find those gigs that are under 50 quid because it's a cheaper night out and you never know who you'll find.
Agreed.
Goodbye, everyone.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Really enjoyed the chat with Jim and many thanks to him for coming on. And I really enjoyed the variety of his 5 underrated songs. If you would like to suggest some songs or some themes of over or underrated bands to talk about, you can reach us on Instagram. We're at Over Underrated Music Pod. We are on Blue Sky at OU Music Pod, or you can email us overunderratedmusicpod@gmail.com. Enjoy summer, enjoy life. May things be well.